Thank you very much for joining us today. This topic, as you may already know, is exam development session 2. So also, cultural and linguistic differences should be considered when developing questions. I am from a country where English is the official language, as you may have seen. Even though we call it accent, it's not necessarily the same as the Americans and the British and other English-speaking countries. But we over here study from kindergarten. I hold a PhD, so I've never gone to a school where any other language was used as the language of instruction. There's a situation whereby now you want to test my skills in electronics, which is my major, and you decided to introduce some terminologies for the same thing that I may have sufficient knowledge about, but you have used the language different from English for me. That may not be too fair to me. So we must bear in mind what you do. So if you are creating a test, creating an exam for people whose language of what do I call it now? Let's say whose language or official language is let's say French or Spanish, you are encouraged to bear in mind that whatever you do, those cultural and linguistic differences should not be handled in such a way that people will be disadvantaged. Okay, and then in generating your test, you should also be careful about sensitive issues that have some cultural, problems. I would like to use examples from my own environment here. If you want to test a typical Nigerian in, let's say, social studies, by our culture, the issue of homosexuality is seriously frowned at. So even if you have topics or content having to do with things like that, it will be fair or it will be advisable for you to avoid bringing them up because they are culturally sensitive issues. So these are things you should bear in mind when you are dealing with, test items. So I think I have discussed these in details. It is also necessary, the point number 6, that you should consider the test taker's feedback. The test taker's feedback is a very valuable resource because it helps you in assessing the validity and the reliability of the entire exam that you have put in place. It also helps you to identify issues, as we mentioned earlier. And then one of the key things that test takers can bring into the mix is that where, for instance, you are trying to construct the exam, you can use test takers' feedback to even form part of your distractors, right? We discussed that in the last class, in the last workshop session that we had. So these are things you should bear in mind. Okay. How do you go about having access to this test takers' feedback? You can do that through surveys. You can do that through interviews. You can even, have what you call focus groups. But then it is necessary that you must bear in mind that all the information you are collecting from your test takers, the must be done in an anonymous setting. This helps your test takers to feel comfortable in providing honest feedback to you. Okay. So to wrap up, examination development relies on the expertise of subject matter experts. Without them, the test or the exam cannot be successfully deployed. This is because they help in developing exam questions that are accurate in terms of their ability to assess the test takers' knowledge, skills, and abilities. The steps that are included in an exam development that SMEs should bear in mind include defining the objectives and content of the tests. Bear in mind also Bloom's taxonomy, and then that the test should be clear, concise, and free from unnecessary information, and that a ballot test is needed, that we should not forget that fairness and impartiality very crucial in an examination situation. So therefore, we must avoid bias and discrimination. Also bear in mind that we mentioned and discussed that test taker feedback are important. Therefore, they should be considered incorporated. This is because they can help in enhancing quality and effectiveness of the test. So when we follow all these tips, SMEs are sure to be able to create exams that are viable, valid, fair, and that accurately measure the test takers' knowledge, skills, and ability. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for being part of this session. I'd like to announce that we still have other sessions coming up by the end of next month.